Hello, ladies. I think I'm loud live. Hello, hello. Close unused applications. Oh boy. All right, let me close out what I can close out here. All right. Hello, ladies. How are you? Bear with me because I have not been on Facebook Live in a long time. I always feel like there's new things on here and I never know what is going on. So I just was trying to create like a Zoom and then do it in here and then that way I could show you my slides. But I definitely was having issues with that, so I gave up and I was like, you know what, we'll try that another time. So um, anyway, if you're, I think we have Amy. Is that you? Oh, there she is. Hey, Amy. I see the comments. Awesome. Yay. Oh my gosh, ladies. So I tried recording this yesterday and I had some difficulties. The whole thing went just like disappeared. So I always clear my space. So I definitely did that today as well. Cleared my computer, staged that, and all the things. So today we're going to be good. We're going to be good. So, how are you ladies doing? I'm excited to do our live for today. We're going to talk about our theme for this month. Welcome, February theme, which is Her Divine Love. And I'm excited to really dive into this topic. I feel like there's so much that we can really go into around Mary Magdalene, about the heart of the divine feminine, so much that we can chat about religion, our sensuality, our sexuality, when it comes to really tapping into your divinity. And maybe we can kind of like branch into different things if this is something that you girls want to kind of chat more about. Um, I'm happy to dive deeper into, whatever may come up for you guys. So let's just start off by getting grounded and taking a moment to just get present, be in our bodies, taking a moment to connect with our breath. So if you're listening to this on the replay, that's okay. You can just come back or if you need to come back and listen to this later, that's okay. And you want to have more time. So whatever feels good for you, whatever aligns for you. All right, just taking a moment, breathing in your nose and out your nose, breathing in your nose and out your nose. Just noticing how you're arriving today for this intention call, this module, as we're entering into February. We're already almost in the second week. It's been crazy. How are you feeling today? How are you feeling? Asking yourself this question as we're connecting with our breath. Taking a moment to honor yourself, whatever is coming up for you today, whatever you're feeling, whatever energy you're feeling today, knowing that it's perfect, that you are perfectly aligned, perfectly where you need to be. Just holding yourself in this moment, connecting with your breath. And as you breathe, imagine this beautiful energy just going down to Mother Earth, grounding you down to this moment. Releasing any fears, any worries. Breathing in again. Breathing out and breathing that energy down, down to the roots, down to Mother Earth, down to life force energy that's just going to empower you and ground you here. I just want to thank our guides, our angels, our ancestors, our spirit team. Just want to thank you for being with us today. It's my intention to be a pure channel today, that the girls would receive what they need to hear, that we all would receive what we need today. Whether it be love, compassion, encouragement, support. May our hearts be open, bringing forth this life force energy from the root to the heart so that we can be open to receive what we need to hear today. Thank you for guiding us. Thank you for being with us. May we connect to what divine love is today in our own hearts, in our own unique way. May we be an open vessel to receive what we need to hear. Thank you. Take one more deep breath in. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Okay. All right, so I'm going to pull up my little slideshow because I did make a slideshow. Maybe what I'll do is just put it in the portal. And you girls can kind of check it out if you want, if you feel led to. All right, so our theme this month is Her Divine Love. We're talking about Mary Magdalene and really the heart of the sacred feminine. She knew her truth all along. And some of the things I want to dive into is, feeling misunderstood, not seen. What can you learn from Mary's embodiment and who she is and who she was? Where is your heart guiding you today? And knowing that you're loved, and how can you love yourself a little bit more today? And I feel like these are such good topics, especially because this is like February, it's like the month of love, right? So we get to really love and nurture ourselves in a beautiful way. And however that feels good to you, right? So when we're talking about Mary Magdalene, I wanted to just like share a little bit of my backstory here because I know some of you might already know this, but I was really brought up in a religious home, very strict belief system that was kind of brought up, which really led me feeling very like restricted to like who I was and how I was, being able to express myself and how I could be my authentic self. And there was definitely this disconnect for such a long time. And I always felt like the outcast. Like I always felt like, I had to be a certain way to be a Christian, or I had to act a certain way and I had to dress a certain way, like I had this one lady say to me one time at church, she was praying with me and I'll never forget it. She said to me, God, may they never look at her differently for the way that she dresses. And I'll never forget that. And I was like, what does she mean? I'm like, do I dress like inappropriately? Like, and I'll never forget that. And it's just like, it goes to show how much of there's this like persona that we have to put on as a spiritual woman, right? A woman of God. We have to act a certain way, dress a certain way. And there's always this disconnect, right, that I had. And I'm sure if you relate, drop me some hearts. Um, what were some things that came up for you in your childhood, that maybe you felt like disconnected to, right? So we always have that internal knowing of like something being off, or maybe just feeling like, something doesn't resonate or doesn't like feel aligned for you, right? And um, I was like the rebel, right? I was the one that was like doing the things that I wasn't supposed to do. Like, I was told not to like move my body, not to dance, and not to be sensual or sexual, and that was looked at as a sinful thing, right? Um, and as I learned about when I read this book, Mary Magdalene Revealed, I feel like if you girls have not read this, I highly recommend it. Um, I felt like this confirmation, like almost like I knew that the way that my belief system and the way that things were being taught, for me, it didn't feel 100% aligned. And I think that when we're on our own journeys of like finding ourselves, we kind of like can see what feels like our truth, right? And, reading this book really helped me understand that it's not really that my relationship with God was not something externally, right? It was something that was found within me. And how liberating was that? Because for so long I operated in the energy of fear, the energy of like I have to be a certain person or act a certain way or God's not going to love me, right? And in the book, she talks about, sin, and that sin is not really about like being perfect or like doing the wrong thing, right? Sin is when she says in the book, it's about our soul, like when we're not in alignment with our soul. Let me see if I can find. I read it this morning right here. It says that sin is simply forgetting the truth and the reality of the soul, and then acting from that forgetful state. Right. So sin is when we believe that we are only the body. Then these insatiable needs, these desires and fears, the ego conjures. Sin is an adultery or an illegitimate mixing, a mistaking of the ego for the true self, rather than remembering the true self is the soul. So it's you. Like you, when we're out of alignment with who we are, like that is like what she's saying that sin is, right? So I really think that it's about really coming up with your definition of what that means to you, right? So, um, so let me look at my notes here, what I wanted to share. Okay. So we're kind of diving into Mary and we'll dive into her embodiment first. But yeah, so it was really like understanding that my divinity was found within, right? So I want to encourage you today, like, to find like what that means to you. Like, what is your divinity, right? Like, what is your relationship with life, source, God, energy, like, whatever that is. Like, do you have a belief system that aligns with your truth, right? And I think it's a constant evolution of like understanding what that is for yourself. And I definitely took some time to get to this space of understanding my relationship with God and my power. So I do believe that there's both. Like there's the God above, and then there's the God within. So Amy, you remember like Olivia, she used to share that there could be both, right? So that was something that really came through for me, was that I could have that relationship of both. So having the God externally, but also within. So I get to have both, that beautiful marriage. Um, so let's dive into Mary a little bit. So she was a woman of great courage and faith. And I always like, I was reading this book, I realized, how difficult it must have been for her to, in a sense, to really be different, right? To feel like an outcast in her time, in her journey. She ended up moving to France, right? Because of being shunned, and people like were really trying to keep her from speaking her truth, right? They were shunning her. They didn't want to hear what she had to say. And then, the her book, her text was almost like hidden, right? We didn't even know it existed until like so many times later. So again, it comes back to the patriarchy and the hierarchy, and how women have been, like our voices have been told to be quiet, right? To not speak up or not to share or not to be our authentic self, right? So we have this like both, right? We have this woman that's wanting to speak her truth and share, and when she did, she got this backlash, right? She got people saying, well, who are you to share this, like, and who are you to have this relationship with Jesus, and who are you to tell us like what love really is, right? And but yet she still had that knowing within, like she didn't allow them to keep her from speaking her truth, right? She was a beautiful embodiment of love, a beautiful embodiment of, hope and seeing other people beyond the external, right? Because people were always looking at like for the savior to come and save them, right? And it was like, but she was trying to say that we are able here to save ourselves, like we have that power within us. So I just feel like that's such a beautiful reminder of the strength that we have within us, right? That we're able to create our realities, we're able to love on ourselves and create this beautiful relationship with who we are and then also have that empathy for others. I feel like sometimes we forget, that we, even though we have this one perspective, it's okay for us to share and speak and listen to other people's perspectives. And how can we hold them in their experience, but also stand in our truth, like Mary did, right? In her embodiment. And she just didn't allow that to keep her from speaking the truth. I mean, she had a big message to share. And if you think about it, like back then, that's a big deal for being a woman to really speak up, for a woman to have like this knowing and to have gifts and to, um, be in her authority. Women weren't looked as an authority back then. So I wanted to read to you this part of Mary Magdalene Revealed, and every time I read this, like it just blows me away. Like I just blown away. If you girls have anything to share, feel free to share anything that comes up. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so I wanted to talk about like her relationship of what like life, like what her understanding of what her relationship with God was, right? Um, Her perception of how she saw, her divinity and who she was was different, right? So this is just an example of like how she viewed who she was and her relationship with the divine, right? So this is just so beautiful. I love this. It says, if I could write the beginning, it wouldn't be in the light, it would be in the womb, in the dark, in the cave, in the egg. Okay, and I just want to pause real quick. Just think about how different this whole text is versus like from a male's perspective, right? Like how the Bible was and just how the woman comes and she brings everything with like from her heart, right? It's just such a beautiful, beautiful what's the word I'm looking for? Polarity, right? Because it's like just she comes in and brings this like mystical, beautiful experience to the Bible and to what love is. And the Bible has a lot of male, like the original text had a lot of male energy in there, right? So we've got the feminine energy and then the male energy. I just think it's just so beautiful. Um, so let me start back to where I was. If I could write the beginning, it wouldn't be in the light. It would be in the womb, in the dark, in a cave, in an egg. It would be to name all that has been left out of what's holy. The blood, the body, nothing real or imagined has ever happened without it. If I could start again, I would install an altar within me. I would place the most sacred object inside it, my own heart. If I could start again, I would know that the only cathedral I've ever needed to find, to enter, to return to again and again is this humble red hermitage. Hermitage. If I said that wrong. This mystical space that holds all the answers. I would begin again inside my heart, and I would live this way, speaking from it. So, such a beautiful reminder of like that it's not about having all the things, right? Having all the external, the cathedral, going to the church, going to this place, right? It's within, right? She's able to make this sacred altar within her heart. And I always feel like this is such a beautiful reminder that we don't need to always have all these different things perfectly to have that union, right? And I know for myself, I'm totally guilty of this, that sometimes we feel like we need to have all the candles and the crystals and all these different things to reach God or to get to find our answers within, right? So just knowing that that altar that we get to create is within our hearts. And then trusting ourselves, right? Because there's always that like piece that we get this intuitive knowing and then we doubt ourselves, right? So just allowing ourselves to build that confidence in what's coming up for us, allowing ourselves to feel, you know, trust, build that trust within ourselves. And I think this is something that comes with, creating that relationship with ourselves, loving ourselves in a new way and releasing like any stories that we've been telling ourselves for so long, right? So building that like that new divine love within. How can we do that? How can we start shifting from the old and allowing ourselves to really create this new energy of love, this new relationship with ourselves, with God, as because we are one, right? We're one with God, and we also get to experience like new things, new energy, new expansion, right? So I feel like it's just a wonderful way for us to remember like that we are so powerful, right? Um, I love it. I love that text so much. It's just so powerful. Okay, so let me go back into my notes. See what else I have here I want to share. Okay, I read the quote. Okay, so I thought if you girls would like to do a journal exercise, what can you learn from Mary's embodiment? Take a moment to journal. How can you relate to her experience? Where have you felt misunderstood or a time when you felt challenged for your beliefs? How can you lead with your heart today? So, even today, we get to learn from these beautiful women that came before us, right, as a guide, to understand like that they paved the way for us in a sense, right? They are paved a way for us to really speak our truth, right? And I'm sorry, I lost you. There we are. Okay. Um, so I did this exercise, and I'll share what I wrote. That's not where okay. So I wrote, how can you relate to her experience? There have been many times in my family that I felt I had to defend myself. I felt that they thought their truth was better than mine or more important than mine. Mary stood her ground. I felt very much alone at times, like her. I have also felt this beautiful devotion and relationship with my relationship with God. So, like on the other side, I've also had this beautiful relationship, right? Not just like feeling shunned, but also like knowing what my relationship was. I felt such a beautiful connection to God and show empathy and compassion with others. So if you feel called and you want to take time to just journal and write, I always feel like that's a beautiful way to kind of just um, connect to what's coming through for you and what's something that you can take away for yourself. All right, let me pull up my other slides. Okay. And then the other exercise I put in here is I want you to take a moment to write yourself a love note, reminding yourself of all your accomplishments, how far you've come, and maybe even noticing some areas where you may be imperfect and turning that to love. What lessons can you learn from this? So I just thought this is a fun little exercise because I know that we're kind of connecting with, um, this doesn't really have to do with like Mary per se, but more about coming to like a beautiful energy and relationship with yourself. How can we tap into that love for ourselves, right? That compassion. There's so much pressure and judgment that we put on ourselves to like be a certain place or to act a certain way or to feel like we're not doing enough, right? Because success is going to look different to every person, right? And we all get to create our own reality. And if we could release that expectation, right? And really come to that space of appreciation and love for ourselves and devotion for who we are authentically at our core, um, I think we would show up differently. I think we would love what we create. We would love the things that we do. We would be prouder of ourselves more, celebrate ourselves more. Releasing that judgment is so powerful. And I was thinking about this like this week because I know for myself, I definitely have felt that way. I felt like, why am I not at this space or the time yet? Like, why do I feel like I'm like trying to force things, right, to happen? In a sense, it's like, well, what success means to me is going to look different than to somebody else. And that's okay, right? So it doesn't have to look like what someone else's experience is, right? So we get to create. That's another thing that if you girls want to journal on is, what does success mean to you, right? Um, Maybe it's not about having these like 50K months and like this huge big community. Maybe it's just holding yourself in like two or three women that you get to mentor, and you get to um, really just be present with them and create this beautiful relationship, right? It doesn't have to look like how everyone else is doing it, right? And I'm not saying that it's wrong to have this like amazing big community. Like, that, kudos to you. Like, if that's something that you feel called to have, that is awesome. We all have different callings, we all have different gifts. And, when we come back to loving ourselves and being compassionate to ourselves, it really can shift a lot of how we're showing up. Um, because, right, if we're not loving ourselves first, how can we love others, right? How can we hold space for other people, right, in their journeys? And it's important for us to create those boundaries and to really honor and celebrate ourselves. And I feel like we don't do that enough, right? As women, we are constantly like picking all the things that we're not doing right, right? Why can't I get this right? Or why can't I be like her? Or comparing ourselves. So it just kind of limits us from just loving ourselves, right? Like loving where we are in our journeys, appreciating how far we've come. So I highly encourage you to do that exercise, to write yourself a love letter, and then you guys can share it to me in the chat if you want to. You don't have to. Um, but this is something that I've been really practicing and embodying myself, is that self-compassion and releasing judgment as well. So let me look at my notes, see what else I have here. So I pulled two cards before I got on here that I want to share. I just find it so interesting. Sekhmet and Safio. Sekhmet is actually one of the guides I've actually worked with prior to, but she is fierce. She is like half lion and half body, like human. And I love this card so much because it's just a reminder, like, of how, like, you can also be a feminine leader and be soft and flowy, but you can also be very fierce. So I just love this card, and it says, I am pure strength. I honor my anger by giving voice to it. So this kind of comes back to like the feminine heart and all her layers, right? In Mary Magdalene Revealed, she talks a lot about her sensuality and her body, and how like we are always like really separating the two, right? It's like we can't be sensual or sexy or angry. We have to just be this certain way, right? And that again comes back to that perception that the society puts on us, like, as a feminine you have to act this way, right? But the feminine is also really fierce, right? She's also very wild at times. So she gets to embody all parts of herself. And then the other card that I picked was that came through was Sapeo. She's the poetess, and it says, "I love every inch of my body, and I love the woman in my life fiercely." So interesting is that both of these cards are both wearing red. We're talking about divine love. So this one here, when I saw this, I thought of like, really just being more compassionate with ourselves, right? With our bodies, with like how we look. And this morning it was so funny. My husband says to me, Jess, you look so, I'm trying to think of the words that he said, because it was just like, you look very mature. Oh gosh, now I can't remember exactly what he said. It was so cute. But he was just complimenting me on like how I look more mature, but older, but like just I look mature, but beautiful. So in a nice way. Like, he wasn't saying like I was aging or anything like that. But I knew what he was trying to say. But anyway, um, giving ourselves this love, right? This compassion and loving ourselves first, right? And I think that because I took that time for myself this morning, just to like do my hair, do my makeup, just create some space for myself. He saw that, right? He saw that beautiful like um, reflection that I did, taking care of myself first, right? So just reminder of just practicing compassion and self love for yourself today. So I feel like there's a lot that I can go into around Mary Magdalene and her embodiment. And let me make sure I hit the points I wanted to go into. Where is your heart guiding you today? That's what the one thing I wanted to go into. So today, in this time, in this season, where are you being guided? How can you tune into that voice within and allow yourself to take the steps, do the things you need to do in this time that honor your energy, honor your process, honor your gifts, honor your space, right? Looking within so that you can show up empowered and really just living with intention today. Just like Mary did in her time, she created that space for herself. She was the first person that showed up to see Jesus after he rose from the dead because she had that faith, the faith that was like undeniable. Like she knew, she had this like knowing within her heart that nobody could shake from her, no one can take from her, right? How can we create that today? That undeniable knowing within ourselves. Like maybe it's just to love ourselves more deeper today. Maybe it's to hold space for somebody today, trusting and having faith for them. Maybe it's believing in yourself that things are going to work out, having trust, right? That you are taken care of, that you are supported in your journey. Maybe it's, letting go of control and trusting that deep, deep surrender that you're supported today, right? So thinking about her embodiment is a way that we can kind of see, how can I mirror that today for myself, and that in our own unique journeys. And there are so many patterns that we have in our life, and sometimes we miss out on what it is that we're being told to learn, or we're being guided to look at. So where today are we not looking at the things we need to learn? I was just talking to my husband about this, and he was like, Jess, like, there's patterns. Like, you have some patterns, and there are things that I've actually had to really look at and see, wow, hmm, interesting. But not like, just like how I said it, interesting, not placing judgment on myself, because then when I do that, it makes it very like I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, why can't I get this figured out, right? It's not about doing any of that. It's about just stop like missing the signs, or like stop not trusting myself, or stop like letting go of like what everyone else is doing and do what you need to do, right? So trust yourself, right? So coming back to that deep knowing, that deep trust in ourselves. And it takes time. Sometimes it's just taking little steps, and sometimes it's taking big steps. So it's really about listening to your intuition, and that's a process of like trust. Letting, stepping into, letting go of fear, and sometimes doing things scared, you know? For today, ladies. Thank you for joining. If there's anything else that you want me to share, I'm happy to go deeper into. Um, we have our call this month. I believe I set the date on that, but I will share in the chat. So if there's anything else that you guys want me to, go deeper into, we can chat more. I love you girls. Thank you for being here. And I will see you later in the chat. Bye.